one. We are live with Sam Samworth. This is Across the Pond with Addy Ads and Sam Samworth going from the United States all the way to England. Good morning to any Americans listening, and good evening to all my Britons and UK folk. Sam, how are you doing today, and what's the status where you are right now?
I'm good, dude. Bit knackered, just been in the garage doing a bit of a Rocky Four. I think we all have to look after our mental health, don't we?
Yeah, and that's definitely our theme for the show today, is we are talking mental health among many other things, but that is definitely the touchstone that we're leaning back on today.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I've got to look after my family. I can go a bit wobbly with my mental health, not careful. So hours walk with a dog every day. I know everyone can't do that. And I've got a little gym I've set up in my garage. So
wow, that's awesome.
Just, you know, I want to look after my family, my friends, and there's a fair few other people I'm talking to as well. And we already discussed yesterday, you know, about being able to talk to someone, your problems or whatever. So that's all good.
Definitely. Yeah, and exercising is, I think, so key right now because of the huge role that it plays in sustaining and improving mental health with the endorphins that are released when stretching and exercising. I'm doing stuff every day. Usually it's just once a day for even just 15 or 20 minutes. I try to at least just stretch, if not do a couple push-ups or some strength exercises as well. What are you doing for your workouts, Sam? Because you said you're working out in your garage.
Well, like I say, I've got some dumbbells I've had for years, you know, going rusty in the garage. Anyway, two factors. What's it is now? I'm going to be at home a long time, and my missus is working. She's frontline, so obviously I need to look after her.
Oh,
the
wow.
other thing, age is creeping up. I've got to that age now where, you know, you can put it off so long. If I don't start doing something now, then by the by.
Yes, sir. Yeah, definitely. And there's definitely the compound effect that plays a huge role in fitness too, which is, you know, it's way easier to maintain than it is to play catch up.
Your last year doing the military college or whatever with the yes sir,
high school.
It makes me smile.
Oh.
It is nice being called sir, but there's quite definitely no need.
Okay, yeah, it's a habit.
See, you know, it is nice. It makes me smile. Right, if we could start, Addy, just looking at social media, you know, there's a lot going on around prisons, what's happening in prisons. A lot of people are really angry who maybe have loved ones in prison. So if we could just spend a little bit of time talking about that.
Definitely.
You know,
go for it, Sam.
I have got friends in various prisons around the country, and what was a stressful job this last 3 weeks has become even more so. You know, we talked about this already. The world was not prepared for what is happening now. You know, there was not enough equipment. People are getting geared up now, trying to help. Unfortunately, prison, you know, our prisons are designed to operate. And the fact that the main thing, you know, your government, our government, and the world is trying to do is emphasize this social distancing. And in prison, that's nigh impossible without keeping people locked up.
Definitely. And are they releasing prisoners in England? Because they do, they are doing that in New York, as far as I've seen.
I've seen that, right. There's probably maybe 10%, 15% of the prison population who maybe don't pose a threat to the public.
Right.
If they could release them, obviously that'd be a massive strain. You know, again, we are
speaking for the United States. I know there's definitely, you know, as far as the demographics go, we have, I think, the most prisoners in the world, and to say that there are people in there who shouldn't be in there and could be released for low-level offenses like having some weed or something like that, I think is
Oh,
an understatement, wouldn't you say?
listen, Addy, you'd lose 80% of your prison population if it was about weed. You know,
Yeah.
most of the states now it's actually legal, yet I don't know, 75% of your prisoners are in for like low-level drug dealing weed or something like that.
Yeah, it is
Uh,
it's a bad deal, and I think it's part of the nature of the twisted aspect of just the system.
Prisons, mate, should never be for profit.
Mm.
Never.
That's
You know, while
slavery,
they're
isn't
for
it?
profit, you know, they're going to keep banging people up, aren't they?
Yeah, and it's a form of slavery, I would say, isn't it? I mean, I don't really see as any different, or maybe I guess a more accurate term would be indentured servitude, if you want to get real specific.
Yeah, yeah, it is quite definitely. You know, while we're on the subject of prisons, if you look at like some of the models in Norway, certainly the British prison system, probably European, certainly the American, you know, it's antiquated, it's outdated, and it doesn't work. You know, you look at Norway, so they've got some of their most violent prisoners, long-term prisoners, and it does work what they're doing. However, there's a cost. There's a cost to everything. But if you look what they're doing, they're long-term prisoners. You know, they may be living their cell, maybe like some sort of small flat or bedsit, some self-contained. You know, they've got an ensuite, they've got a toilet, they've got their own shower. Um, it's not decorated like a conventional prison, you know, with basic furniture and bunk beds and things like this. And they've decorated nice, you know, therapeutic colours and things like that. But I think one of the main things is these extremely violent and dangerous prisoners who are doing long term, there's no violence. And one of the reasons, well, it's got to be the main reason, is family contact. They're allowed to have close family contact. You know, they're allowed sort of in what is their home, allowed to have their family in, and with the partners, wives, or whoever, they're allowed conjugal visits.
Wow.
So, other than being incarcerated and not locked out, they do have a close family life.
I did not
And
know that, and I think that's really essential to rehabilitation and being part of the rehab process. I
of
learned
course,
a bit about Norway prisons actually from Pepsi Watson, my friend I mentioned yesterday, and he taught me that they have the lowest recidivism rates in the world.
of course they do. You
Mm.
know, we've talked about that. And then the thing is, the answers are out there. It's all been done. It's been tried. You know, we look at drugs. Look at the states for drug offences, yeah. And the problem over here. Let's go to Portugal. You know, I talked about that with Sean Atwood. You look at Portugal. They basically got rid of the methadone program. Methadone does not work. Methadone, you know, as a heroin substitute, it does not work. It's a waste of money and it's a waste of time. It just leads to problems. So you go to Portugal and they've decriminalized drugs. You know, everyone was pretty much against it at first. They give heroin addicts pharmaceutical grade heroin. So initially, and this has been running 5, 10 years now with a massive success. So it's happening, this, you know, it's out there and there's a model for people to look at. Now, a lot of people, obviously, why are we giving them drugs? You know, let them do the rattle or whatever. Well, the fact is, it's not the fact they're taking drugs, it's the crime involved in that drug taking. You know, the amount of burglaries and everything else that goes with it. So
Right.
they decriminalize it. Initially, heroin use went up. It's now dropped off massively. Some places, crime's down 80%,
Wow.
addiction's down 50%. So when people are discussing drugs and they have, you know, in this country and other countries, just go and look at Norwegian prisons. I mean, it's not going to happen overnight. You probably need, I don't know, 20 years to get something like for our long-term prisons. You know, maybe you could keep something like a conventional prison for short term, but people who are going to be in a long time, you know, if you're going to give them a chance, people a chance, then maybe that close family contact and that is the way forward.
Yeah, it seems like it would be, it's so essential to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and it's very low in the hierarchy is that need to feel like you belong and you feel like you are part of the community. And I do think that not only as a function of helping people who are addicts or who are criminals because of drugs, I do also think that adults should be able to put things in their bodies, like anything really. It's up to their choice. I think it's a principle and a matter of liberty more than anything else.
I would agree, so long as it doesn't affect anyone else. You know, it's not affecting your neighbours or
Definitely.
something like that.
Of course, yeah, definitely. And I was
So,
doing some more. No, go ahead, Sam.
no, after you, mate.
I was doing some more reading on you on the internet,
Oh yeah,
and it said that in mid 2016 you just averted a riot. Do you want to talk about that?
the date's wrong.
Is it? Oh, okay. The art. I'm just going off the article. They said mid 2016. What was the date or the year?
Oh no, 2015. Right.
2015.
That wasn't a personal thing. We'll discuss this and then we'll talk about, if you're happy with that, the current state of prisons, because they are related.
Definitely, definitely.
For your American viewers and people in this country that don't understand the process, and I keep talking about the same things. So if you see me talking to someone about the same things, Ade, it's because these are the things that have affected the prison service. You know, prison's never been right. We know that, but it's what we've got. However, if you go back to my time at Strangeways, 2010 to 2015, we were doing all right. Yeah. What happened in 2012 in the prison service is someone decided they would bring in their latest strategy. Now, prison, it's about budget, same as everything else in this country and your country. What I've never been able to understand is how every year you can cut a budget if the population is growing. It makes no sense, does it?
It doesn't make any sense mathematically or sociologically either.
So we'll go to 2012. So the latest strategy, and you know what? There's too many people apportioning blame. As a society, we've done nothing about this for the last 100 years. Things develop or change, but the fact we've still got Victorian jails from 1885 or whatever shows you, if you think about that, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Buildings that were built over a century ago we're still using as prisons in our modern times.
Yeah, and the articles I read, several of them described the Strangeways as squalid and, like you said, really like kind of old. And I think one article said it was like Victorian era prison.
It is. It is. So Lex 2012. So workforce modernization. Now, the best way to describe this, and again, you might have read this before, it's something I use. So let's take your Walmart or any supermarket, convenience store in this country, yeah?
Okay.
During summer, yeah, so Walmart, a Wednesday afternoon during the summer, it's a lovely summer's day, very few people shopping, yeah? And, everything's good with the world, same in this country. Now, what we're going to introduce to Walmart is an incident, and that incident is going to be happy holidays or Christmas. Yeah.
Okay.
So what happens Christmas at Walmart? That week before Christmas, it goes bananas. Yeah. So what do Walmart do? they call on staff and they bring them in, yeah, in order that it can store function.
Of
Same
course.
as this country. Makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, they call
Wednesday in
it
the
seasonal
summer,
hiring.
yeah, Wednesday in the summer, very few staff. Christmas week, get everyone in. Okay, now let's look at prisons. So the Christmas incident, in prison, we have an incident. Now, there can be an incident every day. But when there's an incident in prison, we're not bringing nobody in. There's no staff to come from outside. The staff you've got have to deal with that incident. Yeah? Now, there's going to be consequences. You imagine Walmart at Christmas with your summer Wednesday afternoon staffing. What would happen?
Be lines out the door.
Is that all? Do you think people might be getting angry?
Oh yeah, definitely, and especially at
Frustration.
Walmart.
Exactly. It's going to boil over, isn't it?
Maybe if it
So
was
now look
Target,
at,
a little less arguing would happen, but who knows?
yeah. So look at prison. You get an incident, some of your staff, and I keep saying this and I can't stress it enough, some of your staff are taken up in that incident. So you don't have enough staff to get prisoners out or keep them out so they get locked up. And that's been happening more and more. Since 2012, it hit Strangeways quite late, March 2015. But over those 3 years, as they brought in workforce modernisation, that pool of staff has got less and less and less. And it basically means you can't deal with incidents and get prisoners out. So that's the consequence.
I read that in your article, and you said basically, or it seems to me that that was a huge reason why you left, because of that stress of the chaos of kind of being outnumbered and not having basically the manpower in instance.
Right. Let me explain how it affected me. Again, when I talk, Addy, right, I'm always going to be honest. It's not being big-headed. It's not, I can do this, I can do that. It's about being honest. So
No,
for
you're
me,
fine. Go for it, Sam. You're not going to make me feel insecure.
no. So in March 2015, the job changed for me because we didn't have enough staff, right? Now, prison can be a scary place and it can be very intimidating. Yeah. So what happened? We started getting incidents and it started boiling over. Now, a lot of staff, like I've said to you, are normal people. They're not big. They don't have a physical presence. That doesn't mean they're not good officers.
Of course.
And a lot of people don't have bottle. Do you know what I'm talking about when about bottle, about controlling adrenaline and being able to stand up to people?
Bottle. Okay.
So
Gotcha.
what happened to me was there's more and more conflict. So if I saw a male or female officer and maybe a prisoner showing aggression and that officer's backing off, and I'm looking round and people are ignoring it because that's what happens, other staff would ignore it, then you're going to step up. You're going to challenge that prisoner.
The
So
staff would ignore it?
What happened for me, I went from, being super patient, 7 years working with mental health on the healthcare, to being in conflict every day, challenging prisoners, they're challenging you. You'd arrive at an incident. What happens in a prison? You have alarm bells. I'm sure it's same in America. So if there's an alarm bell, you will be alerted by radio, or maybe someone will shout where that incident is. More often than not, if I was going from one place, one residential unit to another, by the time I got there, that incident is dealt with, yeah? The staff on scene had dealt with that, and maybe I'd be locking prisoners up for them. What happened more and more, you would arrive late to an incident and you would then become involved in that incident because people were standing back. It's human nature. Adrenaline, it's fight or flight. We know that, don't we?
Definitely.
Plenty of times. So let's look at what happened round about June 2015. It's summer. We're short of staff now every day. this is a weekend, and E-Wing Outer, which held normal location prisoners, they're wanting their exercise, but there's not enough staff. And what's happened is, do you have spice in America, or do you know what spice is?
Yeah, it's also called K2, I think, here.
K2, various names for it. It's a generic name, mamba, whatever. Initially, it started out as carp, i.e. the fish, tranquilizer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Whoever decided that they would try smoking carp tranquilizer and they would get high off it, you know, I don't know how some of these things come around. However, it's a bad drug addict. Over here, you used to be able to buy it legally, £5 a bag. The government then made it illegal.
I don't understand those rules you guys got over there, because you guys, you can't buy melatonin without a prescription, but you guys can go and buy codeine. I don't get it.
Okay, well, you know, it is what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, just an observation.
Anyway, so this spice, yeah, it started out, it weren't a good drug. Some people had smoked it once, psychosis, it'd make them unwell. However, people had a fair idea what was in it. So although it wasn't regulated, you know, it was more or less the same product wherever you were buying it. At that point, for me, the government should have stepped in and controlled it. What they did was they made it illegal. So overnight, you could no longer buy that. So what people did, they went out and made their own. So when I talk about spice in prison now, what that was 5, 6, 7 years ago is nothing like now. It's probably 40 times stronger. It's a bigger problem than heroin. It's horrendous. You know, it's killing people. It's wrecked people's mental health. It's out of control. City centres in this country, if you go into Manchester, you know, you get communal areas in the summer, parks, Piccadilly Gardens, which is a beautiful, you know, you've got plants, trees, flowers, people walk through there. There might be 100, 150 people just passed out. Literally, people pass out. There's that many that police will approach people, you know, might be leant against a lamppost, stood up, completely out of it, make sure they're alive and leave it at that, because it's everywhere.
Wow. And so that's, you said Piccadilly Circus? They'll just be...
Piccadilly Gardens.
Gardens, okay.
There's Piccadilly's train station. It's just outside the train station. It's, you know, in a normal summer, it'd be a nice place. People would be drinking coffee, having the lunch, you know, that sort of thing. Wow. Now, it's just full of people smashed out of the skull.
I didn't know it was such a problem in your country, because massive. Here it's definitely not. Here it's fentanyl right now.
Fentanyl, yeah, exactly. Well, it changes, doesn't it? It's Oxycontin at one bit, ice schools, the painkiller. Then you got ice, methamphetamine, and now fentanyl. So I do actually, you know, follow the trends.
Well, I would expect you to be an expert on it.
No, I'm no expert, but you know, I've got a fair idea.
Definitely.
So this spice got into prisons, and it was cheap to make, massive profit, massive. You know, somebody going into prison could traffic thousands of pounds within.
I read that there are actually some prisoners actually make more money inside jail.
Of course they do.
That's crazy.
That's not an urban myth.
Yeah.
You know, you take a quantity of spice into jail, you will make money. So there's a lad, I think we discussed it briefly. Let's call him Frank. So when I lived in Manchester, this lad lived 100 meters away from me as the crow flies, yeah? He's what I call a career criminal. I got on with him really well. First met him in about 2001, Forest Bank, in a private jail. So I knew him quite well. He lived near me. He knew where I lived. That weren't an issue at all. During the 5 years I lived there, he was in and out of jail a couple of times. I don't think I've told you this, have I? So
No.
I sees him one day. I hadn't seen him for 6 months. Have you been back inside? Yeah. So he's got a scar. So I said, what's that? I recognised it straight away. So he's had a joint of spice inside. He's passed out. As he's gone out, he's cracked his head on a metal table, massive cut, and he's been unconscious for 4 hours. So this is a guy in 15 years has never taken drugs in prison, never. So I said, why have you started taking drugs? He says, it's boredom. We're getting locked up all day. He says, so you get up, get a brew, have a hit of spice, wake up, it's dinner. Have a hit of spice, wake up, it's tea, watch a movie, have a brew, hit a spice, and it's morning. So that's a lad who's never taken drugs. It's rife.
It makes the time go faster for them.
Exactly. Everyone's taking it.
Mm-hmm.
However, it's you know, it put massive strain on the prison service. The thing about spice, when they take it, your blood pressure can go through the roof or drop really low. Your pulse can race. Your pulse can drop. Now, if you're a nurse checking someone who's hardly got a pulse, then maybe you need to send them out to hospital. Massive drain on the ambulance service. Getting an ambulance into a prison, getting the prisoner on board and getting it out could take an hour and a half procedurally. So
just logistically going through all the checkpoints and
correct. So it's not good. It put a strain on the whole system. But everyone's taking it because we're going to this bang up. So let's go to June, July 2015. What happened on this E-wing outer? This lad has taken spice, yeah? Now, there's 2 landings, if you can imagine it, with cells. So there's a landing here that has pool tables and cells down the side. And then there's some steps up to another landing with just cells, yeah? So he's up there. He's unconscious. So what the staff have tried to do is lock the prisoners up to deal with him.
Okay.
I didn't know this at the time because I'm on the healthcare. So we've heard an alarm bell. And what you do when you've heard an alarm bell, you'll be listening to your radio to see what's happening. And then they put out a call for all out stations. Now, at that point, adrenaline kicks in. Yeah? You know, your buttocks get a bit tight. All out stations, there's something going on. So off we trots from healthcare, a steady jog. There was a younger lad with us, yeah, who's off like a bit of a stallion.
He just took off.
So I said, whoa, slow down. You don't know what we're going to. Yeah, it's not a long distance. However, you've got to go through a couple of gates, up a couple of flight of stairs, and when you get there, you don't know what you're going on to now. As it happens, when we gets there and goes onto the landing, there's about 70 prisoners. I can see this lad laid out on the landing above. There's managers there, and there is paramedics from outside who've come in an ambulance, yeah. So they're with him. There's 70 prisoners facing us. Some of them stood on pool tables, some with pool cues. There's a tension and there's an aggression. Bam, massive dump of adrenaline straight away. So as prison officers in public sector, we have an extendable baton. I've still got mine somewhere. Yeah. I'll have to show you that later.
Definitely. I would love that, Sam.
In fact, wait there. Definitely. 1 second.
Take your time, Sam. So we are live. This is Addy Chats. I'm Addy Ads. Anakin Skywalker, YouTube's chosen one. You can call me Addy. You can call me Ads. You can call me Anakin. It doesn't matter to me. Everyone, please go check out Sam's book, Strangeways, A Prison Officer's Story by Neil Samworth, book on Amazon, and it is also available on Waterstones as well. Isn't that right, Sam?
Yep. And I think it's still available as the supermarkets in this country.
Excellent.
Okay.
It's a pretty cat
extendable
you got
battery.
there. Yeah, let's
So
see it.
we've got props now. So this is a covert draw. You would. So there you go. Yeah. As an officer, you would carry that at your side.
Mm-hmm.
In my time, I drew my baton about 6 times. I'll tell you about that after. So this day, this is my own personal. It is illegal to carry these, and it is now illegal to buy them.
Really?
I know in America you can probably buy stuff like this in Walmart.
Oh, I'm sure
You
you
know,
could.
well, you can buy
I don't know
guns.
about Walmart, but I'm sure you could get a hold of it. Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
think
you
it's
know, you
legal.
can buy guns and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
I'm
I
sure
would
you
be
can get that.
surprised. So can you carry it though, Sam, since you
No,
got
no,
that
that's illegal.
official?
If I got stopped on the street with that, you
Mm-hmm.
know, I'd be lifted or cautioned or whatever.
Okay.
As prison officers, we were warned by Manchester police because we used to take them home and bring them in. It's your own personal baton. You sign for it. It has a number on it. We were warned by Manchester police if they caught us carrying them out the jail, they would arrest us. So there you go. So we've gone on to E-Wing, yeah. I drew my baton straight away. When you draw your baton, you hold it in your hand at your side here, yeah, in that position, ready to strike. On camera, afterwards, they reckon there was about 70 prisoners and maybe 30, 35 staff, yeah. That situation there is a potential riot situation. Myself and maybe 8 people drew their batons. Yeah. So there's 8 of us across the landing. And again, this isn't bravado, this is adrenaline. You're either over there ready to run, or you know, you're standing up. So there's about 8 lads with batons. Yeah. And you know, I just sort of glance across like the lads who were there. The Yorkshire lad was there from the Danny G incident. So you
Yeah.
got 2 Yorkshiremen at least. So we're up for it, yeah.
There you go.
People don't like that. I don't care. We're Yorkshiremen, so we're there. Now, them lads who were lined up there, they were game on. I were game on. You know, I'm looking at the people directly in front of me, and they backed off because I'm like, you know, if it's going to kick off this, you're getting it. Bam, bam, bam. But the rest of the staff were maybe 5 meters behind us against the wall. Now, quick refresher, Addy. You look at your family, you look at your neighbours, you look at your friends, they're prison officers. They're not all fighters. I am not. These people aren't cowards. These people are terrified. This is not a good place to be. Yeah? So they're stood back. What happened was a little bit of negotiation from a prisoner governor. He's like a manager. And, you know, after probably what was a very tense 10 minutes, the prisoners agreed to go behind the doors, because what happens then is maybe 20 of them prisoners were up for a fight. So they're looking, there's maybe 8 of us who are up for a fight. Yeah. The rest of the prisoners are sort of looking and they're sort of backing off. Yeah. So when a solution was offered, rightly or wrongly, they decided to go behind the doors. Yeah. So once we got them behind the doors, a friend of mine who was stood at the back said to me, "Why did you draw your baton?"
And
Yeah.
what did you say?
So I looked at him and I said, "Why didn't you draw your baton?" You see, when you draw that baton, you have to fill paperwork in. And that lad, who was a good prison officer, yeah, you know, not the same as me character-wise, a good prison officer, nonetheless, he was fearful if he'd have drawn his baton, he would have got in trouble.
Wow.
And he also said to me, if those prisoners had come at you, you wouldn't have hit them with the baton, would you? Well, obviously I would. You know, that's why you're giving them. But believe me, if I take you back to K-Wing when I worked on there, 6 staff with a baton at the side, dealing with 200 prisoners, it's still not good odds, is it, Addy?
No, that's not even numbers right there. But I think
No,
it's definitely a force multiplier, and that's why you have it. But yeah, I didn't know you guys had to process paperwork every time you removed your
definitely. There
yeah.
was people who were fearful of drawing those batons.
Hmm.
That simple. So,
So you admitted in an article I did read that you never chose to work with prisoners as, quote, part of some social crusade. It says you just
correct.
needed a job.
I actually got pulled for this. Somebody, a journalist who reviewed my book for the Guardian or Times, or maybe both, criticised me for taking a job for secure employment and what was then a decent pension. Yeah.
Really?
Now, why would anyone take a job? Why do people work? They take a job to earn money, and if you could get a secure job with a pension, you know, why would you not take that job? But the criticism was that that was the wrong reason to become a prison officer. I worked with Addy and trained with people who believed that you could make a difference. Yeah. Going into that job. I now know from the lads who are my friends, who I used to lock up, that the way I behaved and treated people, you know, was appreciated. And one of the lads who has quite a violent history said, if I could get my kids to grow up like you, then, you know, I'd be a happy man. So that in
Wow.
itself is a
That's a great
reflection.
compliment to receive from someone,
Of
Sam.
course, it's a compliment, but I didn't go in. I went in there, you know, it is what it is. You know, it's a certain type of animal. Now, I've said this before, and people don't understand it, right? 90%, maybe 95% of prisoners go in, do the time. They might do a bit of drug dealing. They might be up to no good behind the scenes or whatever, but they tend to get on with the time. However, some of them, it don't matter how you treated them. You could call them sir. You could give them roast dinners every day. At some point, when you piss them off, they would kick off. Yeah, it's a certain, and you've got to understand that animal. People on the out think if everyone had a nice little cell all painted and stuff, not like Norway, we know that works. That's going another step further. Yeah. So when you talk about a Victorian jail and you talk about Strangeways and you talk about conditions and how prisoners are, you know, they're unhappy at this time. They're not unhappy that they're in a Victorian cell in Strangeways with a mate. Yeah. You know, might be a bit of damp, old-fashioned bars, might be spiders in the corner. The heating might not be the best in the winter. That ain't a concern. Their concern is they aren't getting out of their cells. If they were out every day, you know, it wouldn't matter. They're not. That is not their concern, and people need to understand that.
So it's not so
Oh,
much about having a really cushy cell as it is, you know, maybe getting some rec every day or gym every
right,
day.
Rec. It's a regime, mate. So
Mm.
let's go 2005 to 2015. My time at Strangeways when we had enough staff. Prison inspectors inspect every prison roughly every 4 years. Yeah. They can come unannounced. They come into your jail. They inspect everything. Condition of the jail, prisoner staff relationships, safety, how safe prisoners feel, how safe staff feel, all these sort of things. So Strangeways, up to 2015, the very last report they did, round about 2013, the inspector, it came out fantastic first staff prisoner, and they can talk to anyone as well. You have no say, so they can speak to any prisoners. Yeah, same as they can speak to any staff, and they can go anywhere and they can watch anything. So they're not limited. They can go into your jail and go and do and look at whatever they need to. He said it was possibly one of the best prison inspections he'd ever done. Yeah. So it's an old Victorian jail, but it's probably one of the best inspections that was, and that's the staff prisoner relationships. Yeah. That was round about 2013. Might be 212, might be 214. I'm not sure, but you can find them online. You can go online and look at prison inspections. It was a fantastic one. But then we had enough staff to get people out. And this dynamic security we've talked about before, staff prisoner relationships, you know, it's happening. Lots and lots of interactions every day. And that's what prisoners want. They want to be able to come out of a cell, get a shower, phone call, have a bit of chat with their mates, you know, and whatever they're doing in the background, whatever they might be getting up to, because they do get up to all sorts of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I've heard poker games, making food, making drinks, whatever it may be. But
Yep.
yeah, that's really, really interesting stuff, Sam, and glad you shared that. I do want to bring something else too. It's this same article. It says, incredibly, during your whole career, you only heard one racial slur, and it was actually from a female officer insulting a prisoner serving food. Why did that surprise you, and if so, why?
Right. Historically, the prison service is like a lot of institutions have been known as institutionally racist. Yeah.
Right.
I've no doubt in the past, you know, things went off that were not proper or not right. I can only comment on what I've seen in my career.
Of course.
And I've said this before. I worked with people who were quite definitely racist. Yeah. However, doing their job, that racism never reared its head. Does that make sense?
Reared its head, you mean?
They were never racist whilst working as a prison officer.
Oh, so do you think they actively hid it?
I think they did hide it, but they were professional as well, to a certain extent. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, I think that's
that one incident. If I had heard that female officer verbalize that word, I'm quite sure it was the N word.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. As it happened, we ended up restraining the prisoner because he kicked off.
Oh, I would imagine.
You know, I did tell the manager what I believed had gone off, which some people will turn a nose at up. I don't care. And that officer got removed from working on the healthcare. So for me, that was a result. You know, that was something I would never do. Yeah.
That was that the same incident as that wasn't the same incident as the nurse, because didn't a nurse, an assistant nurse, do something that you reported?
They didn't report something. We had a prison officer bullying a vulnerable prisoner, and when I found out, I did report it. It is mentioned in the book. People at the time were really pissed off because a mini investigation was done and that officer was removed. If I'd have gone at it hard, that officer would have been sacked. Yeah?
Yeah.
Prison investigations have a habit of they don't record things properly. Quite a lot of people are investigated and get off. That doesn't mean they're innocent. And I've also seen people investigated, officers who were innocent, and sort of the prison service has gone after him and sort of made a, you know, look at this guy.
Made an example of them. Yeah, I have heard about the stories of that happening. Yeah, and similar to that happening to whistleblowers as well within the system.
This is why whistleblower legislation come out. There's lots of police coming forward now. No prison officers. Just a little story. So I had a message. It might have come yesterday. I only saw it today. I'm not going to mention the guy, but this is what keeps me going, yeah, and will keep me going. So this guy is a CM, so he's a governor, yeah.
Okay.
At some point in his career, he worked at Strangeways, but now he's a governor. So he sent me a message, yeah. He'd read the book, he's seen the podcasts, and he said, you know, he when I say this again, this in patting myself on the back. I'm going to tell you how it is, and you'll know why I'm telling you. So he says, I admire what you're doing. I admire your honesty and integrity. I admire the honesty of the book, and please keep doing what you're doing. He said, you know, he wishes he had the strength to speak out, you know, and stand up for people. We're talking about prisoners and staff, and say it how he is, but he struggles with that. So I got back to him. I thanked him for his kind words, and what I said was, when this lockdown's over, you're going to message me, because I get lots of messages and sometimes lose track. Please message me, and me and you are going to go out and we're going to have a bit of a bitch and some coffee and a good chat. He also said that, you know, he does suffer with his mental illness and at times struggles to keep going. So it's messages like that that keep me going. Yeah. And that's what it's all about. Because it'd be dead easy to let this drop, you know.
Definitely.
And while we're at it again, yeah, I'm not for prisoners, I'm not for officers. Yeah. I know what's wrong. I can see everything that's wrong. It's not because I'm like super intelligent or anything like that. When you are at the bottom of a ladder as an officer, you know, I see what frustrates prisoners and staff. You can see where the whole system is going wrong, right up to your courts, you know, your legal and everything. You see everything and you get a whole picture. And it's not good. It's not good for anybody. I always say that, or try and say that, you know, this isn't good no matter which side of the door you are on. And that's important.
That's great. And I think you are doing really great work, Sam, and I really respect you for that, because I know that it's coming from an internal place for you, because I also saw how much you guys get paid as prison guards, and it's just not enough, in my opinion, for the to get PTSD like you did. It's just like it's not nearly enough to get paid. You know, you couldn't pay me that amount of money to
It's changed, Eddie, you know.
It has.
Changed.
Okay.
When I was in, I was on about 29,500, maybe, I don't know, $35,000, maybe something like that.
Okay.
It's dropped from 29 and a half now to 22.
Oh wow, it went down. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. I thought you were going to say it went up. That's terrible,
No,
because the
no.
number, the figure that I got in the article, it was 29. And yeah,
Yeah, that's
that's
what I
really
was
bad.
paid. It's now a lot less.
Yeah, that's not a good trend.
That's exactly workforce modernization. Not only do you get not enough staff to do the job, you also, you know, you get a
Yeah.
big massive drop in wages.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that would affect morale of not just any individual worker, but I think the whole force. And you talk about there being a massive drinking culture within prison workers, particularly. Was that
Oh, sorry.
ever a problem for you, or was that something
Right.
took part in, or just didn't avoid it, or how was your
Again,
relationship like with that?
when the book come out, yeah, I did quite a bit of media, radio interviews, some TV interviews, and that, yeah. So I had a couple hours media training, which was really interesting. You know, just basically they said, like very cliched, nothing is ever on the record. Well, I'll tell you now, Addy, I had conversations with a dozen people, interviews for newspapers, and they asked me questions that interested them. And all them guys would say, right, I will tell you this, but I don't want that in the article. And you know what? Not one person put anything in that I wasn't happy to be in there. So all the press, despite what you hear, the journos, you know, I probably had an hour's interview. Half an hour was what they wanted to know, and half an hour was the article. I've lost my track. Get me back on track. Where was I going with that then?
What did I bring up? Oh, I brought up the drinking culture that exists
Right, drinking.
within the prison culture.
So when I had this media training, this guy says to me, because I mentioned something to do with drinking. He says, "Don't mention that. Are you saying to me that that the government needs to look at prison officers because there's a problem with alcoholism?" I says, "Well, yeah, there is. Lots of prison officers drink in excess. I'll tell you why they drink in excess. It has got to be one of the most stressful. Go away from the virus now, because lots of people's jobs now are frontline and very stressful.
Oh,
lots
yeah,
of them.
Definitely.
As a prison officer working on a landing, yeah, from the day you open prisons up, the hour you open up till you go home, it can be constant stress.
Yeah,
Lots
that's
of
by
people in that
definition
job,
a frontline job, and it's all the time. It's not, just a season or for one,
it's
one
continuous.
Yeah.
It's every shift. Most people in this country, and I've no doubt it's the same in America, people's idea of relaxing is having a glass of wine or a beer. Lots of people I work with should have left the job, yeah, because they were stressed. It wasn't the job for them. However, the job, it doesn't weed out these people. I've told you before, I worked with two guys. One of them was super selfish, 35 years, never did anyone to help anyone. The other guy was one of the laziest people I've ever come across. Again, 35 years of not helping anyone. But what he did do was go to the pub every day and drink.
Oh, my goodness.
Believe it or not, and people used to talk about this glossy-eyed. They used to have, as it were, clubs or pubs on site. So Strangeways, outside the walls, would have a pub or club. So people would come off shift, have a skinful, drive home.
Wow.
So
it's almost part of the institution.
Yeah.
Like literally the physical building too. That's crazy.
The people who've been in a long time used to talk it all glossy-eyed about the club and the good times. I mean, come on. Exactly. You know what I'm saying, don't you?
Yeah, I don't think that's the point of the job. Yeah, I understand completely.
However, like I say, a lot of people are in that job who shouldn't be in that job. And their way of coping with stress is alcohol. There were lots of alcoholics, a lot of functioning alcoholics.
Yeah, I do think that's a demographic that exists in every job, is not only people that shouldn't be doing that job, but, like you said, functional alcoholics who are doing that job.
Possibly. I mean, alcohol, the government make a lot of money off alcohol. It's been said before, it's legal. The deaths attributed to alcohol on the NHS, I don't know, it's massive.
Yeah.
It's not addressed at all.
Yeah, I think it's a problem here too that not many people talk about, because it is a drug that it's not stigmatized. If anything, it's stigmatized to be sober, I would say.
Well, exactly. Everyone has a glass, but it's still super cheap in our country. If you buy the right alcohol, you can buy it super cheap. Strong alcohol still.
Sure.
And it's unlimited. I can go in with my supermarket trolley and buy as much alcohol as I want. Bottles and bottles and bottles. Jack Daniels, there's no limit.
Yeah, same
there's
here.
No limit when I get home. Nothing's stopping me drinking all that.
Right.
So there is a massive problem. And I am not knocking people for that. What I'm saying is some people have been in that job a long time. It wasn't a job for them, but they were happy to take the money and their way of coping was drinking.
Of course. I wanted to show this tweet to you, Sam. I know you're not a
Yep.
police officer, but you were a position of authority
Yep.
for the government. So I just wanted to get your. So this is from Sonia Polton's Twitter. She says,
Yep.
"So we're okay with this then. Guy films traffic warden and ticketed cars because he thinks it's wrong to issue penalty notices during lockdown. And 5 police members show up at his door." So here is the video. I'm gonna make sure you guys can see it.
Yep.
Yep, I will. Can I make this?
Well, you don't even have to look. It's ridiculous. Joke. Joke, isn't it?
That would be lovely if you give me an appointment card. What do you think about that situation, Sam?
Right, listen, they've been on about this. It should not become a police state, right? Okay, the police have a difficult job to do. They need to stand back and have a look at this situation. The whole country's in lockdown. People are getting concerned and nervous. And, maybe they should be laxing things like this. If somebody's not causing a problem, not causing an obstruction, not hurting anyone else, what we don't want is people going over the top. Definitely not.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's just weird. I don't understand. I don't understand your police force sometimes. But
Right, let me tell you about our police force briefly. Yeah, our police force has become far too politically correct. I know what's happening in America and everywhere else. These activists, social justice warriors. What have I always said is prison officers, police, whoever, yeah, whoever turns up for that job, if you get 20 people and you want 10, employ the best 10 people. The prison service always used to get slated because we fell short on employing people with disabilities and people from ethnic backgrounds. Not many people want to be prison officers. Why would you?
This is true.
Why would people from ethnic backgrounds want to be prison officers? It's crazy. In this world today, if I had a business, I would be employing the best people for that job. Yeah. Irrespective of anything, without going into it, without doing a disclaimer, employ the best people.
I agree. Yeah, basing your decision on merit, 100%. And there is, like we mentioned earlier, there is the problem of institutional racism, but I think that affirmative action only goes so far, and we are at a point in our history, I think, in the West and our development of equality of opportunity between races and sexes that has never been as equal as it is now. So I do think it has gone too far, and it is becoming almost like a swing back reaction the other way, to where Yeah, you only get
That's
hired
going to
if
happen,
you
Andy,
are
because
in one of these
people are going to get fed up with
underrepresented
it.
groups.
You know,
Yeah,
people are starting to get rights now, you know, and people, the more they push it, the more people will kick back, or enough's enough. Morgan Freeman, was it Morgan Freeman who said something like, you know, if you want to get rid of racism, stop talking about racism.
yeah,
You know, everybody now is a fascist or a racist if you disagree with people.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I think the one reason for this is because there is this rising movement among the radical left and among the young, I think, progressives especially. And I do think a lot of them are being manipulated. So when you do have that action, you're going to have a reaction in the opposite way. And the way things have been developing really since 2016, when I couldn't ignore politics anymore just because of how big it got.
Oh, exactly.
It's just
Exactly.
gotten more and more polarized and more divisive. But I'm hoping that this coronavirus situation can bring us all
Pulls
together.
people together.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it is. You know, like this show we got going across the pond. We got an American talking to a Yorkshireman from England, and
Good lad.
it's great. I love talking to people from across the pond, and I think we can question each other's governments in a way that we can't do ourselves as citizens of our own governments too. So I think we can keep an eye on each other's populace in that sense, that no other we can't do, you know, on our own or autonomously.
Definitely. Right. Before we sign off for today, let's have a quick 10 minutes on the state of prison, because a lot of people, if we go back, like I said, are getting upset. So I'll tell you what is happening in prison now. They've lost a minimum of 20% of the staff already. They're people who may well be ill, who are self-isolating. Yeah. Now, in order to get them people back to work in 3 weeks, because they're going to need them, they need a provision for testing staff who are off work now. Because as far as I know, nobody's made any provision for testing prison officers at work or people who are self-isolating. Yeah. But the staff that are off now, they're going to need them in the next month, definitely. What I see happening is maybe in the next 2 or 3 weeks, prison staff could well go down to 50% of what they've got now.
Because of this sickness, because of this pandemic.
Because of the virus, yeah? So,
wow.
Prison staff, from what I'm hearing at various establishments, are pulling together. In tough times, people do pull together. However, I'll give you, for example, K-Wing at Strangeways, where I used to work now, which houses 200 prisoners, because people are angry because their loved ones are getting locked up pretty much 23 and a half hours a day. Let me just explain. That wing, it's got 3 lots of showers. Yeah, there's 3 landings where prisoners live. 3 lots of showers. Now, bear in mind, we've got to social distance. So if they let one cell on each landing out and say you've got 10 minutes to have a phone call and a shower, that's every 10 minutes, 6 prisoners get a very quick phone call and a very quick shower. 10 minutes, 6 prisoners. Yeah. So in the hour, 36 prisoners. That's social distancing.
Definitely.
If you're going to do it right, and you've got the staff to do that, because you're going to have to watch them at the same time.
Yeah, and
that's going to take you, even if you speed it up and you're super efficient, 4 hours to give everyone, that's with no interruptions, a shower and a 5-minute phone call. Now, there's no way I could get a shower and make a phone call in 10 minutes. It's going to run over, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
Plus
not
the
enough
fact
time.
some people are going to come out and they're all going to be angry. But if you end up in an incident, that's an even bigger delay.
Definitely. And I have a question, and we are concerned, and our hearts do go out to those vulnerable populations like prisoners and older people who are getting affected by this virus. Why would somebody get moved during this time Sam, do you think? Because Pepsi
Right.
Watson, my friend, as I mentioned, he just got moved on Friday to
Yep.
HMP The Mount in
Yep.
Hertfordshire.
Right. I'll tell you why. The system. Nobody from the top down has got the balls to say, right, bam, it's shut the criminal justice system down, right? It's not fair of me to criticize anyone for what's going on, yeah, or pick an individual. For me, what prisons have tried to do is appease prisoners and their loved ones. So they carried on doing visits when they shouldn't have been doing visits. Nobody should have been going in prisons. If you wanted to keep prisons safe, you would have locked them down 3 weeks ago. Yeah. You'd have suspended all the courts. Yeah. Some prisons send people to court every day and receive new prisoners. You would have suspended that. The courts would have shut. No one had been transported. Whatever prison you were in, you'd have been in unless released for the next 6 months. However, they've tried to keep the system going because no one has had the nuts to say, bam, shut it all down. Nobody goes in prison. Nobody goes to court. Nobody gets transferred to another prison. Wherever they're moving, and you're right what you're saying, wherever they're moving, there's a risk.
Yeah.
If I go to some prisons that I know of, I won't mention them. It's not fair on the people I'm talking to. Yeah. There's been no provision for testing prison staff, just testing prisoners. Now, prison officers, some of the people I work with, me included, I used to work hours and hours above my 39 hours a week. I'd work 60 hours a week, 70
Like
hours a week.
teachers.
Yeah. You know, people will be doing that now. We know this virus, some people will get it and have mild symptoms. So this is just supposing to you. I've got mild symptoms, yeah. I'm going to work, I'm working extra hours, I'm coming face to face with prisoners, face to face with other staff. It doesn't need, it doesn't need a brain of Britain to tell you that it's going to go wrong, that
Yeah.
is it.
It
I have
just
been told some prisons now are taking prison officers' temperatures when entering the establishment.
okay.
However,
Well,
at some point, I would imagine every single prison, everyone will be locked down.
yeah, I would
And
imagine that that would happen too, and yeah, it doesn't make sense why they would make a transfer like that in during a pandemic like this. So
no,
prayers and thoughts definitely go out to Pepsi as we do hope that he maintains his health.
there's lots of people in there.
Mm,
It's not good. And then on the other side of it, people are saying they're only getting a shower every day. Let me tell you, prison rules and regs have not been altered for years. Yeah. I
wow.
still believe in the prisoner's handbook or whatever, a prisoner is entitled to, and this is from way back, entitled to 2 showers a week or 1 bath of not less than 3 inches. That's water,
Yeah.
right? It's antiquated. Go to my time in prison, prisoners could shower every day. They could have a shower every day. They could have a shower when they've been to the gym. They could have 2, 3, 4 showers a day if they were out. Yeah.
Hmm.
So the actual rules and regs, they're probably getting what it says in there. I'm
Yeah.
thinking at some point, if a virus takes hold of a prison, because prison kitchens are run by a small amount of staff and the prisoners do the cooking.
Yeah.
Take the 2 prisons I worked at, Forest Bank and Strangeways. If you went in the kitchens, I'll tell you now, you would be impressed. They were immaculate. Yeah. Super immaculate. A lot of things are cooked from fresh, and the prisoners are doing that cooking. It's a well-run machine. If that
Wow.
virus gets in there, the obviously if prisoners, all the kitchen lads, get the virus, then the kitchens aren't going to operate. So maybe catering companies are going to have to be sending food in. Logistically, this virus for prisons are a nightmare.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have all the answers. I'm sure nobody does.
Definitely.
The movement and things like that were a massive decision. You know, people will kick off. People, they like to be able to speak to the family. They like some time out of cell, a shower, a bit of gym, whatever. You know, all them sort of things have gone. Prisoners have rights and privileges. A right to a phone call, right to see family or maintain family contact, right to a bed, right to meals, a right to be kept safe. And then these privileges, which is your gym and other things. So at the minute, that's all up in the air. But I'll tell you now, there will be prison officers who are trying. I fear that there will become so few that just to be able to feed everyone every day and give people the medication or whatever will stretch the staff.
Yeah.
And I don't know where they're going to go. You know, the home where my missus works, which has lost a lot of staff, they're asking for volunteers to go in.
Wow.
You know, to look after the residents, maybe help feed them and give them drinks and things while the care staff do the care work. Prison's not like that. It's not like you can just walk off the street, start giving people cups of tea or keeping an eye on them. So, and even the military, if they put military in, you know, a soldier will have no more idea than you will going in Strangeways on a landing and being expected to do whatever you're going to do.
Yeah.
Everyone would be like a fish out of water.
Well, especially a soldier, even maybe because they always need someone to tell them what to do, right?
Yeah, you're right there, mate.
And I got a huge respect for the military, but I want to be respectful of your time, Sam, and just to, I guess, dovetail on what you just said. Our thoughts and prayers do go out to not only Pepsi but all prisoners in the world right now, because they are restless and they are aware that this virus is out there. Yeah, I'm scared too, Sam, but I'm channeling that emotion into doing this, talking to you, and again, I really appreciate the chance to talk to you.
No worries, mate.
Definitely, and everyone who wants to check out Sam's Twitter, I will again put it in the description box below, as well as links to the listings on Amazon and Waterstones as well. I did have one final really quick question, Sam.
Yeah.
Grass is snitch, right, in England?
Yep.
Okay, I got it. Awesome. Well,
if you want to ask me about grass tomorrow, and let's talk about tomorrow IPP prisoners.
Definitely, we will do that. So tomorrow is another edition of Across the Pond with Addy Ads and Sam Samworth, and we will be talking IPP tomorrow. And Pepsi Watson will be featured. He is IPP, as you know. And Sam, I really appreciate the info you just gave me about prisoner situation in this coronavirus situation that we are in right now, because I do have viewers who follow Pepsi, and he is an IPP prisoner, and they do follow me as well for updates on him. So we do appreciate you for that, Sam. We do appreciate the time.
Welcome.
Do you have any final thoughts before we sign off until tomorrow?
Difficult, isn't it? Just, you know, it's a bad time for people. Just try and look after your family and friends. And if you can help someone, then help them, you know, even if it's just sparing them 5 minutes of your time.
Well said. Well said, Sam.
Okay, dude.
Thank you so much. Until tomorrow.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Cheers, mate.